Pregnant women aren't sick, so work properly. Come on.
I'm sorry. I felt some abdominal tightening and discomfort. Can I do it later?
You're in the second trimester, aren't you? Clean up properly, you idiot.
Mom?
Oh, Michael. Emma said she wants to clean up and won't listen. I said to take care of her body, but...
The video that was played had a loud voice as well. It captured the moment of my mother-in-law's bullying. And it was the moment when she was playing a good mother-in-law to her son.
So Grandma lied, didn't she?
The area was buzzing with our relatives and friends. My name is Emma Smith. I am a 34-year-old housewife. My family consists of my husband Michael, who is 1 year older than me, my 8-year-old daughter Sophia, and I am 8 months pregnant. According to the doctor, it is probably a boy. The age difference between my first and second child is quite large because I had a difficult time with my first childbirth. Although I was avoiding it, my husband and daughter wanted another child. Fortunately, their desire became a reality, and now I am pregnant. I am having trouble because I cannot forget the difficulties of my first childbirth. The problem is my mother-in-law. She is my husband's mother. My parents' home is far away, so I can't go home very often. Therefore, when I gave birth for the first time, I stayed with my in-laws. However, my mother-in-law gave me a lot of housework to do to monopolize my newborn daughter Sophia. Naturally, a newborn baby stays with the mother all the time. The mother who has just given birth waits for her body to recover while breastfeeding her child. I think many people concentrate on eating and sleeping except for breastfeeding to recover their bodies. I also wanted to rely on my mother-in-law for about a month. However, the reality was different.
You're a daughter-in-law, so you have to work the hardest. Come on, Mommy is busy, so come to Grandma's place.
She took my newborn daughter away from me and ordered me to do housework. I was ordered to clean the house and have meals on the second day after giving birth and the day after discharge. I was told to work by moving my body instead of sleeping to recover. I heard the words many times.
Pregnancy and childbirth are not illnesses. I did it that way too.
When my daughter woke up and cried, my mother-in-law took off my clothes and made me breastfeed my daughter even when my father-in-law was present. After breastfeeding, I was thrown away as if I was no longer needed. Fortunately, my father-in-law was a kind person who looked away. I was cleaning here and there, and cleaning the bathroom. I collapsed in the middle of cleaning the bath and was readmitted to the hospital. My father-in-law said that the bathroom was covered in my blood. He called an ambulance for me. To my husband's credit, he was away on business at the time. He worked hard to take the day off the next day. After giving birth, I returned to the hospital the next day. I received a lot of scolding from the doctor. I was overworked, sleep-deprived, and dehydrated.
Your mom is unreliable for collapsing at this level.
She said this while holding my crying daughter. My husband was also angry.
Are you really an experienced childbirth mother?
I thought it would be okay because I have experience. Emma is weak.
My father-in-law and husband were also amazed by her unrepentant attitude. Anyway, I had just given birth and had such an experience. My husband also said that it was inevitable to avoid giving birth. However, a lot of time has passed since that first childbirth. My daughter who was born at that time is now an 8-year-old third grader. She was a smart and mischievous girl, perhaps because she was a girl.
You can ignore my parents. Let's all do our best.
I'll take care of the baby too. I'll help.
I'll take paternity leave this time. Emma, please focus on your recovery.
I had no choice but to do my best when I was told such reliable and happy things. So, I kept my pregnancy a secret from my in-laws until the second trimester. I also told them a vague due date.
You can contact my parents after the baby is born. Your parents are far away, so we have to report frequently.
The distance between our home and my in-laws' home is about an hour by car. It was a relief that my mother-in-law did not have a driver's license. However, there were occasional unannounced visits. With my husband's help, I raised my unborn child while avoiding my mother-in-law. As the due date approached, I started having contractions little by little on the night 2 days before the due date. First, I called the hospital and asked for instructions. Since childbirth can occur earlier for multiparous women, I was told to come to the hospital for admission. It seems to have started. Can you drive me to the hospital?
Finally, it's here. Sophia, let's take Mom to the hospital together.
I was seen off by the two of them and was admitted to the hospital for the second time for childbirth. Nowadays, the hospital policy is that no visits are allowed until discharge. I think it's a measure to protect pregnant women and babies. With this, I couldn't see my family until I safely gave birth. Thinking so, I was able to set a goal to give birth safely and return home. Until the contractions became stronger, I spent time with my husband by video calling. The sleeping face of my daughter on the mobile phone was like an angel, and I couldn't help but take a picture. And in the middle of that night, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. At that hospital's obstetrics department, first-time mothers were generally allowed to leave after about 3 days from delivery, while women who had given birth before were allowed to leave after about 2 days from delivery. It was my first childbirth in 8 years, and although I felt like it was my first time, I was allowed to be discharged on the second day. It seems that the contraction of the uterus after childbirth is stronger than that of the first childbirth, and it was more painful than before. However, the cuteness of the child who was born never wavered. When I was discharged, I asked my husband, who was on paternity leave, to pick me up. It was in the morning, so my daughter was at school. Finally, I can show you and Sophia.
Let's celebrate when Sophia comes back from school. I'll prepare for it.
I never thought this would be the last conversation with my husband. It has been about 2 hours since the phone call. My husband hasn't come to pick me up yet. I was holding my newborn son and waiting at the hospital. Since I hadn't received any contact, I stared at my mobile phone wondering what had happened. Then my mobile phone rang. It was from my husband's sister, Lisa.
I'm sorry to call you at such a difficult time. Can you calm down and listen? Michael was in a traffic accident earlier and was just taken to the university hospital.
I don't remember how I got to that university hospital. I probably took a taxi with my son. When I arrived at the university hospital, my sister-in-law was waiting for me at the entrance. The place I was taken to was not a hospital room or a treatment room, but a mortuary. No way. It was like a daydream. Someone was lying down. No way, this can't be Michael.
You're late, even though you're a daughter-in-law.
My mother-in-law's shrill voice brought me back to reality.
Emma, it's your fault. You're the one to blame.
I couldn't understand the situation from my mother-in-law's emotional outburst, but my sister-in-law explained it to me. My husband was in a traffic accident on his way to pick me up. He collided head-on with a truck that had drifted into the opposite lane while driving. The truck driver may have been driving while drowsy. My sister-in-law who lost her own brother told me this while holding back tears. There was a friend of my sister-in-law among the police officers, and they contacted her before me.
It's tough at a time like this. Your baby was just born. Please be strong.
My husband passed away without ever seeing our newborn son. Our son still doesn't have a name. We were still thinking about it. I wonder how I should explain it to Sophia. The baby I was holding started crying. Maybe he was hungry.
You're so noisy. Stop crying,
She said in a loud voice. It's terrible to say such a thing to a newborn baby who was born just a few days ago.
If you had given birth, you should have let us know. You're a bad daughter-in-law with bad timing.
Even if she said that, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't take my husband home right away because an autopsy was necessary since he had passed away in the accident. After waiting for about 2 days, the body was taken directly to the funeral home. I am the chief mourner. My father-in-law accompanied me and helped me with the funeral arrangements. My sister-in-law, who has 3 children, helped take care of my son. My mother-in-law repeated like a curse that it was my fault that my husband died.
Mom, Emma is the one who is suffering the most. You shouldn't say such things.
I'm the one who lost my child, who I gave birth to. I'm the one who is suffering the most.
My mother-in-law made a fuss about various things, such as telling me to be the chief mourner or blaming me for my husband's death. She used to take away my newborn daughter, but now she is focused on her son. It seems that she doesn't care about her newborn grandchild. I got sleepy at the wake, but I couldn't sleep. I had to be the chief mourner so that my husband, who went to heaven, wouldn't worry. I was determined to be strong. I am the only parent who can protect my children. I thought I was behaving bravely while breastfeeding every 2 to 3 hours, but I collapsed during the greeting to the people who attended the funeral. I felt like someone said something to me, but I couldn't do anything. When I came to, my mother-in-law was in front of me with a red face. I seemed to have lost consciousness for a few minutes. I was in a corner of the funeral hall, and I could hear the sound of an ambulance coming from somewhere. Sophia and my parents, who had come by plane, were by my side.
Dad told me to protect Mom from Grandma. This is the proof.
The smartphone that my husband left behind was in her hand. Although it was miraculously undamaged, I gave it to my daughter, who unlocked it with ease and played a video.
Pregnant women aren't sick, so work properly. Come on.
I'm sorry. I felt some abdominal tightening and discomfort. Can I do it later?
You're in the 2nd trimester, aren't you? Clean up properly, you idiot.
Mom.
Oh, Michael. Emma said she wants to clean up and won't listen. I said to take care of her body, but...
The video that was played had a loud voice as well. It captured the moment of my mother-in-law's bullying. And it was the moment when she was playing a good mother-in-law to her son.
So Grandma lied, didn't she?
The area was buzzing with our relatives and friends. Oh, I remember now. It was a video from the time I visited my in-laws' house once before giving birth this time. My husband was always looking out for me, but I was bullied for a moment when he let his guard down.
Hey, Sophia. Give me that phone.
No. You're going to delete it, aren't you?
When my mother-in-law tried to take the smartphone from Sophia, my parents intervened.
Mrs. Smith, what is this about?
Ha. Mr. Williams. No, it's just Sophia's play. It's a misunderstanding.
Williams is my maiden name.
Please let us hear your explanation over there.
My mother-in-law, with a bright red face, was taken away by my parents. They seemed to be talking in the rental car parked outside. Hey, Sophia. What did you tell everyone?
I told everyone what Dad told me. Grandma is a liar and does bad things to Mom, so when Dad is not around, I will protect Mom. Dad is not here.
My daughter started crying when she remembered that her dad was gone. I cried with her. It was the first time I cried so hard without thinking about anything. Later on, someone told me what was said when I collapsed. After the funeral, I was taken to the hospital by ambulance and given in 4.
Don't sleep at your husband's funeral. You're just a daughter-in-law.
It was quite a strong statement. My daughter may not have understood the content, but she got angry.
Mom didn't do anything wrong, but Grandma is angry. I'll protect Mom from the lying grandma like Dad said.
It seemed that my eldest daughter's sense of responsibility had been activated. My sister-in-law, who had seen everything, told me,
I'm really sorry about my mother.
It's okay. I felt Michael and Sophia's love.
Doesn't she realize she's saying the same thing to her biological daughter, who is in the same position?
While I was being taken to the hospital and my son was being watched by my sister-in-law, she took care of my son sleeping next to me within 4 pole.
It's terrible for a daughter-in-law to be treated like that. What is a daughter-in-law anyway? She's not a slave. Why does the mother-in-law think she's so great?
My parents were furious when they heard that and thoroughly questioned my mother-in-law about her outdated and dangerous bullying of mother and children. My mother-in-law tried to explain it away as a misunderstanding or good intentions. Then my father-in-law said something decisive.
You're harassing Emma and then pretending to be nice to Michael. Can you face Michael?
Even my mother-in-law was silent. He went on to say that he couldn't deal with her anymore. My mother-in-law couldn't say anything back. While we were talking about that, we returned to the funeral hall and took the bus. I cremated my husband about 2 hours later than planned. Around 2 months after his passing, we were planning to have a gathering with family and close friends to remember him. By the time that day approached, my health had mostly recovered. Like Michael, my son named Mark, whose name also starts with the letter M, is doing well. Until the day of the gathering, my mother stayed over and helped me with cooking meals for me and my daughter, as well as other household chores. I experienced the concept of served on a silver platter for the first time. There were various events as well. First, my sister-in-law, Lisa, declared that she had cut off ties with my mother-in-law, who is her biological mother. Furthermore, my father-in-law and mother-in-law divorced in their old age. Of course, my mother-in-law said she hated both of them, but my sister-in-law said that her biological mother, who had a negative impact on her and her family, was not needed. My father-in-law also said that their values were too different and that there was nothing but hatred left. My mother-in-law did not have her mother-in-law. My father-in-law's mother passed away before they got married, so she only had her father-in-law. My mother-in-law said, pregnancy and childbirth are not illnesses. That's how I've been doing it. I don't think this phrase leads to anything. My sister-in-law was angry because my mother-in-law did not transfer her own experience of being bullied by her mother-in-law to me. In other words, it was 100% my mother-in-law's malice. My father-in-law and mother-in-law's divorce was finalized a little before the gathering day, and my mother-in-law was kicked out of the house. Her elderly parents were in a facility and couldn't rely on anyone, so my mother-in-law went to my sister-in-law's house.
Don't be ridiculous. I can't believe you're still my mother.
She drove her away. Then she called my house, but my mother answered.
Oh, Mrs. Smith. It was tough for you this time. But you know, my daughter had it even tougher. It's about when I heard about Sophia's birth. You made Emma work hard and covered her in blood right after she was discharged. No, Emma didn't say anything. She just happened to collapse. I heard the story of when your husband, oh, he's not your husband anymore, called an ambulance. Even this time, something like this happened right after giving birth and she had to go to the funeral right after being discharged. I think it was tough. And yet, it's too much to say things like don't sleep or you're just a daughter-in-law. What kind of person are you really? Oh, did I complain about you the other day? Yes. Neither my daughter nor I will provide any assistance from here on out. My daughter is not in a position to do so after losing Michael, and we don't want any further connection with you. Well, that's about it. Oh, what about Sophia? She says she doesn't want to see you anymore. If you come near us, we'll report you to the police. Yes. Thank you for everything. Goodbye.
While I was breastfeeding my son, my relationship with my mother-in-law was cut off over the phone. My mother-in-law is not yet at the age to receive a pension at 58 years old. Although there was some property division, she will likely struggle in the future. She exposed her terrible behavior as a mother-in-law to all the relatives at the funeral. She may not have a guarantor to rent a place to live. She is my husband's biological mother, so I may feel sorry for her, but my father suggested that I must cut ties with her to protect myself and my children. That's why I was a little nervous and tried to reject her if she appeared at the gathering. However, she did not appear.
What kind of person doesn't even come to this important gathering for our son just because we got divorced? It was the right decision to separate.
My mother-in-law has not gone to her siblings' homes either. No one in the family knows where she is. My husband's cousin saw her under a bridge, but that's the only testimony. It's unfortunate, but it's a fall from grace. To be honest, it's a relief. Oh, by the way, my father-in-law apologized sincerely.
I knew what was going on, but I couldn't stop her. Can I still be a grandfather to my grandchildren?
Of course you can. I'm Michael's wife.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I think my father-in-law is a good person just because he looked away from me while I was breastfeeding.
If she appears, I'll take care of it.
I gratefully asked him to do so. The gathering will begin. Is my husband in heaven watching over us? Sorry, can you wait for another 40 or 50 years, Michael? I want to see the happy faces of our children for your sake. I'll do my best, so please wait for a while.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you like, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.